So pre-production for Fast 10 seems to be underway, but not much is known publicly, and I'm guessing that even the film's producers haven't figured out where they're going to take this story, and it's not uncommon for this to happen. In the previous movies, they've traveled the globe, they've gone underwater, and even into space, and so coming up with new plot lines that will excite and capture audiences interested will be a huge challenge for them. So let's get into what we do know so far about the movie, and we'll get into that right after the break. I don't know if you know this, but I actually now have a merch store, and if you haven't checked out the video description below my videos, then you're missing out. Currently, I've got a pack full of movie quote t-shirts, and more styles are being added every month, and new items are in development right now. So have a look, see if there's anything you like, and wear it with pride. The link is in the video description below. So here's what we know about Fast 10. First off, Dwayne Johnson will not be coming back. The feud that has been downplayed both by Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson is still likely the cause of this. A December 2021 Los Angeles Times article noted that Dwayne Johnson had already informed Vin Diesel of this decision not to return to the franchise. Here's what he said in the article. This past June, when Vin and I actually connected, not over social media, I told him directly and in no uncertain terms and privately that I would not be returning to the franchise. Johnson recently said in another interview with CNN effectively this: I was firm yet cordial with my words, and I said that I would always be supportive of the cast and always root for the franchise to be successful, but there was no chance I would return. There you have it. So I'm sure the careers of both of these actors will continue along with great success, and Vin surely was trying to bring back Johnson because he felt that it would be good for the Fast fans. That's what they wanted. They wanted to see Johnson back, and I think everybody agrees on that, but it's not to be. We also know that Letty and Mia will be back. We know this because of interviews, and they're on their IMDb for this movie. Beyond that, we know that the release will be May 19th, 2023, just in time for Memorial Day, which is about, 10, 12 days after that. And as I said in an earlier video, Fast 10 will be a two-part movie, and they'll be filming Fast 10 and Fast 11 back-to-back. Tyrese actually confirmed this himself in a video that aired in July of 2021. So obviously Tyrese will be back, but I have a strong suspicion that he will be killed off in this movie or the next movie, especially after his on-screen rant in Fast 9 about how he's never been injured and he can't believe he's not died. So I think that sets it up. That would be a shame, of course, because I think Tyrese basically speaks from the audience's point of view. He's pretty much saying on film what all the audiences are thinking when they're sitting in there in the theater. Frankly, he's one of my favorite characters in the franchise, and losing him would be a shame. Ludacris will be back. We already know that, reprising the role of Tej, one of the few characters of the franchise that has seen an arc of his character, while most of the other players pretty much have remained static and haven't really evolved or changed all that much. Mia comes to mind. Justin Lin will be directing again, and although Rob Cohen, whose brilliant direction of the first movie made this whole franchise possible, has not been invited back to direct, despite Cohen's mention that he'd be happy to come back even if he's only a co-director. And frankly, I think that would be a great thing if Cohen came back, give a fresh take, bring some of the old style stuff back. We know Jason Momoa will be part of it, presumably as the villain. Will he be in for 2 movies or what? We don't know. Jason Statham will be back, and we know this because of the post-credit scene in Fast 9. In that clip, he had a man trapped inside a punching bag. The victim offered plans that Shaw was looking for, but the villain said he already has the details that he needed. Someone then knocked on the door, so Shaw shoved the guy back into the punching bag and answered the door only to see Han, played by, of course, Sung Kang, who is clearly shocked that Shaw is alive. Don't forget that Shaw tried to kill Han in Tokyo Drift. Paul Walker's daughter, Meadow, is rumored to be making a cameo, which would be nice because the franchise is about to wrap up. According to bits and pieces from others actors' interviews that I've scrolled through on the internet, Fast 10 and Fast 11 will be more globe-trotting with the storylines touching multiple content, so they're going to be going all around the world again. And we've seen this in other long-running movie franchises like the James Bond movies, to name one. Other ones come to mind as well. Basically, it's standard fare for Hollywood movies. When the stories get old, you bring in new characters, or you bring back old favorites as the franchise goes on, and eventually you have to change the scenery, and it's just the recipe that works, and it's been working for more than 70 years. But now let's get to the topic of street racing, because this is what everybody is interested in. Vin Diesel said in an interview prior to Fast 5 that they intentionally are moving away from street racing, citing audience surveys and box office results. The box office results don't lie. People prefer action movies, not street racing movies. I've said this many times over the years. Just to put it in perspective, the only thing more boring than drag racing a 15-second Honda Civic is watching two 15-second Honda Civics drag race. Now, I'm being sarcastic, of course. I know cars are a lot faster than that today, but there's no way you can make a 2-hour super blockbuster movie about street racers and hope to make $750 million at the box office, because that's what these movies need to make. I mean, what does that even look like? Bench racing inside your garage, smack talking with your buddies how his car is slow and that kind of stuff, and then going to the street races, which are now sideshows and intersection takeovers, followed by police chases and a tow to the police impound, and then your parents bailing you out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not interesting. Audiences actually can see that right now for free on Instagram. There are several pages that show this. One of them is called Street Racer Task Force, and another one's called RSO Street Team. So if you like that kind of drama, you can get it for free. But for Universal, it's not going to happen. I even started a petition to prove this, to gauge the interest of street racing about a year ago, and it got fewer than 10,000 signatures. I basically said, bring back street racing. And the fact of the matter is, the truth is that the small but vocal audience of die-hard car fans around the world, all of whom have complained that the Fast and Furious franchise has strayed from its street racing roots, just don't understand how we are outnumbered by regular audiences. You have to think of it this way. There are 7.5 billion people on this planet, and 98% of the world's population couldn't care less about illegal street racing. So Universal has been making movies that appeal to a wider audience. There's some countries where most people don't even drive at all. Even here in California, the car capital of the world, the audience is relatively small. If you drive up and down the streets of your own neighborhood and you take a look and people's driveways and count how many modified cars you see, more than 90% are unmodified. As Rob Cohen said in the first movie, the cars were the stars, but now the pendulum has long swung the other way, and now the stars are actually the stars. And Universal's recipe for action-adventure movies is nearly perfected, except for maybe Fast 9, because each movie earned more than the previous movie, except for Fast 9. Still, die-hard car fans are left wanting more. So much so that over the years I've been inundated with requests to make my own street racing movie. I am not a producer or a director. That's not my profession. Nor do I have the backing of a big studio. Nor do I have somebody who's going to give me $100 million to make a motion picture. Others have told me that they're going to go out and make their own street racing movie. To date, it hasn't happened, and the reason is it's just not practical. For starters, producing a basic movie today costs about $15 to $25 million. An average action movie costs at least $45 million, and an average adventure movie costs at least $75 million. And there's other things going on behind the scenes that will stop you from doing that. Let me give you some examples. Producing Fast 5 cost Universal $125 million, and that was 12 years ago. Fast 9 cost $225 million, add in another $30 or $40 million for marketing each of these movies, and you can see why only big studios make blockbuster movies. That's not to say independent films aren't appreciated or needed, but you have to understand the scale. When Fast 9 came out, it was shown on 4,179 movie screens in the US every day for its run, and it was backed with a $40 million marketing budget. Independent films cost far less, but they don't have the marketing budget. 90% of independent films never get released. Only 3% of those independent films are profitable. So for those who think an independent street racing movie will be a success, I encourage you to follow your dream, but don't drag me down with you, because that's not my dream. Universal already has all the data showing that action-adventure films outperform street racing movies evolving around that kind of culture. Vin Diesel talked about this in detail in a 2010 interview, but he also said in that same interview that despite this, he wanted to give the fans some form of street racing as part of every Fast and Furious movie, just as a nod to the original fans, trying to keep it real and give them what they wanted. So what should we expect from Fast 10? Well, I predict another Dodge commercial, but it is what it is. Typically, these movies have, for the most part, started off with some sort of street race sequence or car confrontation, and I expect that we will see at least something like this again for this movie, for Fast 10. For Fast 11, I don't know. However, for this movie, I've long thought it would be nice if the beginning street race is part of the movie's main plot. I'm not holding my breath on that, of course, but I'd say it's a safe bet that there will be a fair amount of car action throughout the film. That's what they've been doing so far, and there's no reason to change because the recipe works. After all, these movies are still car movies, despite everybody's assertion to the contrary. No other movie franchise comes close to the car action we see in the Fast franchise. It's just a matter of how the car action fits into this movie's plot. Which leads me to the next topic, the The elephant in the room, really, in this franchise now is what is the fate of Brian O'Connor, which is still being ignored 2 installments after Paul's death in 2013. Where's Paul? Why haven't we seen him? In 2021, Justin Lin said publicly that O'Connor is still alive in the Fast universe. Then why did he let the mother of his children go on a dangerous mission while he was sitting at home doing basically daddy daycare? What man does? I can't tell you how many DMs I've got about that. It's got to be in the hundreds. Frankly, I think it was a totally absurd plot line, and now it's become a real distraction with audiences. Everybody wants to know. The world is waiting on a reasonable explanation. Where is Brian O'Connor? What is his ultimate fate? And I don't think Universal has an answer for it, but we will see. This plot hole is one of many in the franchise, most of which have been overlooked by everybody but sharp-eyed critics and die-hard followers of the franchise. And that's a subject for another video. But Fast 10 and 11 will need to wrap up these storylines in some way. What fate awaits Brian and Mia? What about the children of Brian and Dom? Why introduce children of the main characters and not develop those stories? What was the purpose of doing that? They've got to do something with these characters. To please fans, Fast 10 will surely have to bring back Brian in some manner, whether through flashbacks from old movie footage, or backfilling the story, or more likely using Paul's brother Cody for digital recreations, and when I'm betting that on the latter. So you can probably count on Cody being there, standing in for his brother, which I'm good with, so we can get some new things going on. But then, how does Universal wrap up the entire story? Do they write a storyline in which they give O'Connor a hero's death? Do they let Brian and Mia fade into the sunset, into permanent retirement, and then the torch gets passed to their kids? What does that look like? I don't even know if Universal knows at this point. Do the final movies fast forward to a period where we see the teenage children of Brian and Dom, and now they're in high school or something like that? Maybe in 11? That would be a good setup, but maybe at the end of 11? I don't know. If Universal follows the recipe of other franchises, they can go a couple of ways right off the top of my head. First, they can use these last 2 movies to wrap up this generation of the Fast movies, right? Just like Star Trek. In other words, some sort of super crisis that takes 2 films to resolve and then sets up the children of Brian and Dom to move the franchise into another series, maybe later, sort of like they did with Star Wars or Star Trek Next Generation, that kind of thing. So this likely means that 1 or more characters will have to be killed off. There's rumors about Vin Diesel's character to be killed off, but I can't even comment because I don't have any information. Or they can kill off 1 or more characters while resolving a giant final conflict and then finish the character arc for each character. Maybe Han gets married, Tej marries Ramsey, and everybody else settles down, and at the end of Fast 11, and that's the end of it. But I would like to see a plot line where we get introduced to the teenage children of Brian and Dom in high school. I think these children could be gearheads and, of course, street racers. Maybe one of them can get in trouble with the children of Russian mafia guys, or perhaps old enemies. Now the whole Toretto team must come out of entire again to save the kids. I can see the movie headline now. This time it's personal. It's about family, 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 family. I suspect, however, Fast 10 will go another direction and might set up a final exit for Brian one way or another. Perhaps some terrible fate awaits him, or even Dominic Toretto, alternatively, might have a hero's exit. And at the very least, they need to answer the question as to who pulled up in the GTR at the end of Fast 9. If we remember that ending at Fast 9, a blue GTR pulls up to the backyard barbecue, the windows are tinted dark, and basically Universal implied that Brian Connor is in the car. So Universal clearly wanted to tease an appearance of Brian O'Connor in Fast 10. But who knows what that would look like in the movie. And if it wasn't Brian, who was it? Who was it? Is it Brian's son? Did we fast forward already? We don't know. I also hope that beyond the plot holes related to the characters, there's still the matter of resolving some fan questions, like the ultimate fate of some of the cars used in the movies. For example, Dom's Charger. We've seen multiple iterations of Chargers, but where's the original? What happened to the black original one? We see it at the end of Fast 5. It's being used in the bus rescue with a different grill and that kind of stuff, but that's supposedly the same car. What happened to that car after that? We haven't seen that. What happened to Dom's RX-7? Last seen at Race Wars. What happened to Brian's Supra? Last seen at the end of the first movie when Dominic Toretto takes off with the car. Where's that car? I think that a fitting ending of the last movie should be Brian and Dom's children discovering these cars in a barn and then they drive off in the sunset, or at least we see that the cars still exist. Just an explanation to satisfy the curiosity of fans. I think that would be a great thing. A nod to the fans for sure. But whatever happens, we know that Fast 10 will set up the ending of this generation of the Fast and Furious movies, culminating in Fast 11. I realize if you're watching this video, you're probably a diehard car fan. I get it. For people like us, the car action scenes in these movies have long since moved away from reality. That's fine, I get it. But to be fair, I want to remind everybody that these movies are not made for people with advanced understanding of cars or even physics or chemistry, but rather they're made for an audience that's largely comprised of men, young people 14 to 28 years of age. And so you need to watch these movies through that lens of the target audience, kind of a suspension of disbelief. So if you treat these movies like James Bond movies and realize that these are not documentaries, these are action adventures films, you're going to enjoy yourself a whole lot more. In such movies, laws of physics, chemistry, and science do not apply it here. And frankly, you should appreciate what you have while you have it, because 20 years from now, car movies will be devoid of muscle cars and sports cars, having been replaced by soulless electric and hybrid cars that are basically appliances like your toaster oven or your coffee maker, and the cars have been going by go. Yeah. So how would you like the series to end? Let me know in the comments. What should happen to the family? What should happen to Dom? What are we doing with Brian? Give me your comments below. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And while you're at it, don't forget to check out my merch store. I've added a few new designs you might like this month. The link is in the video description below the video. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.